for Ukrainian remote workers have spoken to express.co.uk, explaining their harrowing first-hand experiences of Russia's brutal war. For Ukrainians have detailed their terrifying experiences of being in the middle of a war zone and how they have survived as Russian rockets explode around them. It has been a year since Vladimir Putin ordered scores of troops to invade Ukraine, with tens of thousands of innocent Ukrainian civilians killed or badly injured. Ukraine has been hailed around the world for its heroic resilience, with a defiant President Volodymyr Zelensky continuing to insist his country will defeat Russia. Express.co.uk has spoken to 4 people living throughout Ukraine employed by EU startup Bordio who have detailed their harrowing experiences in the war zone. The lack of light is not as scary as the lack of mobile internet. Without it, we can't call anyone, read the news, or contact our families. If you hear explosions, you don't know where they are or what they are. One of the attacks was on December 16th. In the morning we woke up from the explosions and went to hide. There was no water and no light at that point. Friends from Kiev wrote that they also had heavy shelling. Dad called from Zaporizhia saying that they have counted 12 shellings already. At that point, mobile internet disappeared and I didn't know how they were. All Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we sat there without electricity or water. Those were very long 3 days. The worst thing was to have no news or updates because there was no internet. When the explosions happen, the reflex is to hide. But we understand that only luck will help because a missile can hit anywhere. They are not accurate at all. Sometimes panic sets in, but mostly we keep calm and wait. There's no way to keep ourselves 100% safe anyway. A full-scale invasion is certainly worse than the war that came before it since 2014. We could not have imagined that it would be so terrible. The Russians are fine. I have electric heating and an electric stove at home. If there is no electricity, the house is cold. There is no way to make tea or food. I had to buy a portable gas burner, right near my parents. The Russians destroyed a boiler house that heated an entire neighborhood. Some people had independent heating in their homes, but most didn't. People were freezing until the authorities repaired the main heating networks. Some people had to move at this time because it was unbearably cold. Situations like this happen all the time. After the shelling, for a short time the mobile network disappears completely, then the signal appears, but it is very weak. That's why sometimes there is no way to contact somebody immediately after the explosion. Some of my relatives are very close to the war zone, so they have the most difficult situation in this regard. When an area around you is rocked by an explosion each time, this is another portion of insane fear and adrenaline. I would like to say that I'm already get used to it, but no. Looking at the explosions in shopping centers and residential buildings, there is always a feeling that this time it can happen to me. I don't wish anyone to go through it. Electricity now is almost everything, especially in winter when the daylight hours are very short. Ordinary life needs, such as taking showers, heating, and charging devices, require electricity. It is especially important for IT specialists because without electricity we can't work. When you lose electricity, you begin to realize its value. Of course, winter time is the most difficult for the population, both because of the cold and because of the short daylight hours. It is very difficult. There is no calm and familiar life. But nobody complains. The guys who are on the front lines are in a much more difficult situation than we are. During a recent attack, the rocket hit a TPP, thermal power plant. I was in a public place at the time, working using free Wi-Fi. Sud.